All right, it's time to start this dev stream. Hi, everyone, and welcome. So, if you haven't watched one of these before, I used to do a few dev streams from Midwinter that I developed earlier this year, and now I'm working on a second game called Shantee's Choices, and I haven't really felt like it's been, I don't know, worthwhile to show anything about Shantee's Choices yet, but I don't know. Now it's time. The time has come to talk about it. So I hope you can hear me and everything well. I'm still kind of struggling with the streaming thing, but I hope it's fine. And please ask questions and stuff in the chat. It feels so much better if I have someone to talk to rather than just me talking to myself, basically. Um, so yeah. So all right. Maybe first I should just mention what happened with Midwinter. If you follow the game and you know want to hear the story behind it, so to speak. So I released the base game on Steam, the PC version in May, 5th of May this year. So Midwinter is, for those of you who don't know, a small point-and-click game, cozy point-and-click game about a gnome on a farm. So it's very based on Swedish folklore, um, and yeah, so like point-and-click, very much focused on the story, the lore, and so on. And I released the mobile version this, I think it was in July, because apparently it's harder than I thought to make a good UI that scales properly on mobile. Because when you do something on PC, then just gonna take one Bluetooth up. All right. Well, it's one thing to have stuff that. Oh, sorry about the sound. Um, well, okay. I'm not gonna go into detail, but taking into account all the different aspect ratios and all the different screen sizes there are on mobile, like I just needed really to make sure that you could click everything, you could read all the text on all of the devices that are out there, and there are quite a few Android devices on the market. Um, so it took some time to actually get that through. And my my solution in the end was probably the ugliest imaginable, but it worked, and now it's out there, and I don't want to touch that game ever again. No, but actually the reception was really good, so I'm happy with that. And it got me at least the confidence to make a second game. Um, but it was my first title as well, so sales could have been better as always. But I don't know, I'm happy anyway. Um, so Shantee's Choices. This is my second title as an indie developer, and this is what I call a massively branching story game. And that means that basically in the center of this game is text. I mean, it's the story. So the gameplay elements are very minimal, and focus is on telling a very unique story. I could probably actually show you kind of what it's gonna look like what the actual story looks like. Let me see if I can find. Okay, here. So this is kind of a map of the story that I made very very early on. So what you see here is each storyline goes down like this, and you can make choices. Like every time that these separate, you made a choice, like a very significant choice. But of course, there will be other choices apart from these as well. Like in a conversation, you may have to make a lot of choices because every time you say something, you have to decide what you say. Shantee, the main character, will never do anything without you telling her to do so. However, I should probably mention that it's not going to be this big at launch, because I realized that if nothing else, some of these are just not necessary in some of these storylines. Because, for example, I'm going to go into detail what this actually means, but you can in this version marry 3 different people, and I realized after watching a few hundred people playing this game at expos and so on, one has actually married at all. So having 3 choices there just wasn't. I mean, it's not worthwhile. It's not worth my time to make 3 different options there. So I'm just gonna have one of those in, you know, in the first release. And then we'll see if there is a demand for it after release, then I might add some more options and so on afterwards as DLC. We'll see. We'll see about DLC. So imagine maybe half of this at launch. So I'm aiming at 20 different endings, and those will be vastly different. I mean, you will like if you get one ending and then move on to another, like and play the game again and get another ending, it should be like significant. Like you can feel like, okay, my character is now a different character. She's in a very different position. So that's kind of the point of it. And also all of these red places, squares, those are ways to die. So you can also die before your time, so to speak. So that's kind of the premise. That's what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to make a story that's kind of mature, deals with kind of heavy subjects, and also like a really just a good story, I guess. So I can actually go back to this picture just to show you how I planned this storyline or these storylines. So what I did first was I put in this this, I don't know, timeline up here. So this is a kind of standard way of writing a story, like a 3-act story. Very basic. Like you have probably heard like, I don't know, hundreds if not thousands of stories with this kind of structure. So you have 3 acts. So it starts with like, routine, like this is the standard, and then there's the inciting incident, which is like the moment, like take for example Star Wars. That's like when Luke meets Obi-Wan and he heads off, like something happens, or he gets the droids is probably the inciting incident. And then after that, everything changes. Like you can't go back from that. And then there is the first. I can't remember what this stands for. Something changes. The first thing that happens. Then Act 2, the tension rises. You have some kind of midpoint. Everything changes again, and then something happens again, and the tension rises, and then there is the conclusion and the denouement. Something. Well, the end of the story. Oops. So that's basically like. I chose a very simple base structure for this because I knew that I needed to have like a foundation that was pretty simple, because it was gonna get pretty if the baseline wasn't simple, then it would have been harder for me further along the way. Sorry. Okay, so what I did next was basically sketch up the story of the city where this takes place, like the world. So whether you like it or not, the queen is gonna have her extravagant birthday party. Like that's gonna happen. Like you cannot change that. So that's the inciting incident. And during that parade, stuff happens. I'm not gonna spoil it, but stuff happens. So there, like whether you like it or not, there is gonna be a riot. There is gonna be an attack on this place and so on. Like, sure, you can affect these events, but like just in real life, some things just happen that are beyond your I don't know what the word would be, but like that you can't really affect. So I kind of plotted those in on this timeline, and they, as you can see, they kind of correlate with where they should be for it to be a good story. And then I started plotting in one storyline at a time. So this maybe looks like a web, but like there is a story here where you become, like here you become a rebel, here you join the army, and so on. So I put in events for each like storyline that correlates to these as well. So even if you don't actually like if you're not part of the riot over here, you're still gonna have some event at the same time. Like something is still gonna happen. Uh, so if you for example get married, you might not see as much of what's going on down in the city, but you're still gonna have some kind of something happening to you. So the premise of this game is that you are a young woman, Shantee, who I believe will be in her underwear in this picture here. Sorry about that. But yeah, she basically looks like that. I can show you some other. Well, I'm gonna go into how actually these works in, like how these models work later. Yeah, but she's a young woman, and she's kind of like your average merchant's daughter at the beginning of the game. An inciting incident is that your parents want you to get married because you have been single long enough, and you're 18. It's high time for you to get married, and you can either decide to go along with it, like sure, yeah, sure, fine, I can do that, or you go, no, I'm not gonna do that, and run away from home. And if you do run away from home, which almost everyone does apparently, then you can either join the army, although women aren't technically allowed. You can join the rebels in the city. You can board a ship and just leave the whole town behind if you so want, if you want to. Or you can be forced to beg and steal or sell yourself on the street to survive. There are some other some other storylines that you can accidentally end up in as well, apart from this. But yeah, that's basically the premise. So where am I? Yeah. So these are basically the main storylines: the army storyline, the rebel storyline, the on the street storyline, the getting married storyline, and the ship storyline. I know that you probably can't really read this, and as I said, this isn't really updated either. There are stuff in here that isn't going to be in the final version, and already like writing the army storyline that I have already finished, I realized that stuff had to be switched around and stuff like that. So this is not that updated. So don't look too closely at it. So let's take a look at. Maybe first off, I should just show you how this looks in game, so you get an idea of what this game looks like. And of course, I have to give you the main menu first. So as you can see, this is Unity. Everything is built in, what's it called? Stop talking to me. In the UI system, actually. So everything is the UI system. Alright, so let's start a new story. And maybe I should hide the debug menu. So, text shows up, and you have two portraits. Maybe I should make it a little bit like that. And then you get, alternatives, you get choices. So, text, okay, I choose to do that. So that shows up, and I get some more text, and I choose to do that, and I choose to do that. So like this is basically what you do in the game. Stuff happens, and you decide what happens next. And as you can see, the portraits change. Her eyes move. She blinks. She moves a bit. The animations are still pretty work in progress. But you probably get kind of the idea of how it's gonna work. And as you can see, her whole face changes as well to show her emotions. So that's like the baseline. You can, if you want to look at the background, there are other stuff happening as well. Like as you just saw, someone fired a musket. I don't know if you noticed that, but So then, like, you get a flash, you get some, some audio cues and stuff like that. Um, there are also things like you can read pamphlets, and when you do, you're gonna get them in the codex, so you can like read. Well, you can collect stuff that you find during your playthrough, and then you can read them again. And yeah, speaking of audio, now it's gonna be very loud. Give me just a second. I'm gonna so you can hear it and also hear me. Here we go. Okay. So if you listen to this, so what we have is, music, of course, to kind of put you in the scene. Also, I'm trying to work a lot with ambiances and some just sound effects to really put you in the scenes, the experience. So you feel like it's not just reading a book. This is like it's a whole experience, and as you can see, like there are particle effects in the background, stuff like that to like enhance the experience. So like this. And so here you go. So for example, there a shot was fired, you get the effect, and you hear the sound, and the music changed afterwards. So now it's a little bit more dramatic. Um, so like the tension rises a little bit. And we continue, and now it's a little bit more calm again. So it's a third piece of music in just a short time, just to like really express the emotions or like amplify the emotions. And once again, like please use the chat if you want me to delve into anything in particular. If there's anything more you want to see or anything you want me to talk about or any questions, whatever. So that is kind of the game, like, that's kind of how it works. So each character has different body parts. This is how it's set up today. We might change this later. But I'm going to show you in a second like how I actually changed these from the story. But I have different like heads. For example, this is Shantee's smiling head and her scared head and stuff like that. So I tell the game like, okay, now it's time to change face from the actual story, from the code, from the script, and then it changes over here. And of course, there's always an animation on this so that she moves. So, and one of the things that we want to do along the line is to actually have them move differently depending on their mood. Now they just always like swing a little bit from side to side, but we want them to really like actually, when she's angry, she should look angry with all her body, and if she's sad, she should look sad, stuff like that. We'll see how far we come with stuff like that, but yeah. Okay, so that's kind of the baseline of what we're doing. Yeah, so there's always Shantee is always on the left side, and the opponent is always on the right side, if any. Sometimes, of course, you're alone. Sometimes you have someone you talk to. As it is right now, you can only talk to one person at a time. But yeah, or like the portrait changes if you're talking to several people and a specific one talks to you. So this is what the story looks like. At the moment, I have over 8,000 lines, and I'm more or less, I've written 1.5 storyline, kind of. So, and what was it? I'm aiming for 6 storylines. I think, yeah, I'm counting right. 5 or 6, depending on how you count. You can say 6. Um, so there is quite a lot to do, and I've already passed 100,000 words a while ago. So I've already written one novel, basically, or not words, sorry, characters. 100,000 characters. Um, but yeah, am I saying that right? Yeah, I think it was character. Yeah. Oh, whatever. It's a lot anyway. Um, so one of the most important things of this is, or I should probably mention, I'm using ink, which is made by Inkle, who made 80 Days and Sorcery. They made this like plugin available open source in March, I believe it was, of 2016, so early this year, which was exactly the right time for me because I was finishing up Midwinter and I was like, I want to make a story game next. Like, I want to make a branching story. What can I use? And then they announced that they were making this open source, and I was like, thank you. That was like incredible timing. But I'm using this a little bit differently from what they do. Especially, I haven't actually played Sorcery, to be honest, but at least it's different from what they do in 80 Days. So I'm parsing this text before I print it on the screen through a script that I call Text Handler. So I have these tags to begin with, which consist of first this little, I don't even know what that's called, but a little character, a sign. Then there are, so what is it? It's, yeah, it's 12 numbers. Can't count, I'm a little bit tired, I'm sorry. 12 characters or numbers, of which the first two they decide if I want to change the music, I tell which music I should change to. The music script should change to, but the first two numbers, these are the backgrounds, the background images over here, because those change as well when you walk around in the city and so on. The next two are Shantee's, her clothes, and then her face. And this is, the opponent, the person she's talking to, and their face. So if I wanted her, like, these are just nines, the nines over here. If it's a double 9, it means that don't change this. Except for when it's opponent, then 9 to 9, like 4 nines means that there shouldn't be an opponent right now. So in this, for example, I'm not changing music, but I am changing to background number 1. Shantee should look the same way she did last time I told the script what she should look like. And then this is Patricia, one of the characters. She is the rebel leader. And she should look away because 02 is looking away. And by now I know most of these by heart, but I also have like references so that I know this. So I'm fetching through another script. I'm going into the correct folder here. So this is Patricia's body, for example. So when I say, okay, character 06 and head 02, okay, 06, get body 06, and then head. Okay, there isn't actually a head 02 because then I just moved the eyes because she's looking away. But yeah, and then I choose the face. Oh, sorry. So those are like tags. I use them, as you can see, all the time. And the way ink works is that there are these, I can't remember, I think they call them stitches, maybe? I can't remember, it is like stitches and knots and stuff like that. I can't remember what the right word is for everything. But basically, you have these nodes that you can go to. So these things with arrows, they tell you, okay, when you come to this point, you should go to this other point. Okay, so I see one major problem with that. We have no money. And then you should go to need investigate. Okay, need investigate. Where is need? Okay, so then it goes back to the same node or wherever you're in. So in this case, okay, we need to look into more. Okay, yeah, it comes from. So I think this is something need to investigate. We need to look into more. Need to investigate. Changing portraits. Elo, I will put you in charge of that. Make sure that la 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 la. So there's a bunch of text, and then these are choices. So in this case, you will have 3 normal choices, which are these. If you have been to this node, which is called buy guns, then you will also be able to choose this option. There's also another thing that looks like this. If you haven't been to this node, then you can choose that option, but not if you have been to it. I'm not gonna give you the whole lesson, but you should totally, like, if you're into narrative, if you're into writing, and especially branching narrative, because that's what it's for, you should totally check out Ink. There are others, of course, like Twine and so on, that have more of a graphical interface, so to speak, like when you actually put nodes with text in them, which, there are good parts and bad parts about both. I find this a little bit easier to work with in one way because it's more like actually writing a book. So if you're used to that, if you've written books before, maybe this is more like this is easier for you. It's easier, in my opinion, to like search and like, I don't know, compartmentalize a little bit for me, but also like it's kind of easy to lose track as well. Like this is basically just text. You have to be very, what's the word? Systematic, I guess, to keep track of this. I'm gonna get to in a second how I do that, but all right. So these arrows send you onwards, and there are also like higher levels of nodes, which are these with 3 equal signs, if that's the word. And those are like titles under which you have more of these nodes. As I said, I'm not going to go into detail, but that's kind of how it works. So, apart from these tags, I'm also using, let's see if I can find one. Okay, I actually had one. Yeah, a new chapter starting here. These shorter, let's call them tags as well. These, however, they prompt effects. So if I want like a gunshot or something like that, then I put one of these. This specific one, though, has a 9 in the beginning, which means that I can track metrics with this one. So when I'm parsing all the text, it's gonna like, there's this weird sign, and oh, there's a 9 after that. I'm gonna send this to the metric script, which I actually implemented today. If there is not a 9 here, then it will read the rest, or it will send the rest to something called the effects script or effects handler, and then it will check, okay, which effect do you want me to play. So what I want to do with the metrics, if I should just mention that for a second, I want to, this is probably not the most elegant way to do it, but I'm tracking which storylines you choose. So for right now, for each new chapter, I'm tracking that. It's not fully implemented yet. I'm kind of tinkering with Unity metrics, Unity analytics, or whatever it's called. But what I want to do is I want to see what people choose, so I can see like, okay, nobody chooses the storyline. Okay, is it not interesting? Is the choice leading up to it not no, interesting? Oh, like how? Well, what do people choose and why? What is people's favorite storyline? and how can I make the others more interesting? Like if I start to look at DLC sometime in the future, or something like that, then I know what you already like without asking you. Of course, I would ask you as well if you actually play the game. There's a third, let's call it tag, as well, and it's this one. This just means that this is a new chapter. And those look a little bit different. So I'm just telling the game that, okay, new chapter here. Please make the text look like this as well instead. There was something. All right. So the way I keep track of this is I am very careful to add to-dos like this all the time. So like if I'm writing, okay, what happened in this scene just when I stopped was like, stop what you're doing, you are under arrest. And then you will have maybe 3 choices. I can have 1 to 4. 1 to 4 choices. And then maybe a Shantee gasped. That's not a good choice, but yeah. So then I first might prepare, like I might feel like, okay, this is probably a good place to have 3 options, or like I can think of roughly 3 options. Okay, I have an idea of what I want to do. So what I will do is like start preparing like this, and always have to-dos, like always these things. Those of you who are coders know that this will not actually show up. Like everything beyond these slashes will not be seen as actual code. But I can easily search for to do and see that, okay, I have 29 to-dos in this in a story. Which basically means that I need to go back here at some point and fix this. And I might sometimes I'm working somewhere like deep in here, like this is I don't know, I'm working on this scene which is not at the actual end of the script, or like the file. Then I will just add something like här here in Swedish, which is also easy to just find by using the find tool. So and what happens now, I added some stuff, I go back to Unity, it compiles, and the changes are in. Inkle is also kind of nice because it gives you some info on things that aren't working. So if I, for example, actually I should get an error here. That's weird, because I have choices that are empty. I don't know why it doesn't do that right now, but anyway. Oh yeah, okay, it doesn't give an error, but it tells you like, okay, this choice is completely empty. So you get some hints from Ink what you need to work on with error, like if you have some bugs and so on. So this is my monster script that parses this text. It creates save files. I probably could have, should have, would have put this in several scripts just to make it more easy to work with. But yeah, whatever. I like the script. It's nice. So this script basically, as I said, like if you start a new game, it creates save files. I don't know where. Restarts. Yeah. It creates save files. It makes sure that you have a text file with all the text that you have seen when you have played. So like everything that you have read, that is saved into a specific text document, so you can in the end export your own story. I have one issue with this, which is that I want several save files, and we'll see exactly how I solve it. Like if you switch save file, how is that going to be saved? Yeah, long story. But the basic idea, or like my plan, is that you should be able to export your own story in the end, because every story is gonna be different. Just statistically, I mean, just right now you have 2,252 choices already implemented, as you can see here when I search. So, I mean, just statistically take that times how many people you are. I don't know how you should, like, I don't know how you should, like, how I should say this, but, well, you can basically mix and match in very different ways, a lot of different ways. So you will be able to export your own story, the story that you have created, basically, or I have, but you have put it together. All right. So the text handler, going back to that, I'm digressing. I hope that's okay. So what happens is the text handler says like, okay, give me some text, and using inc, which in its turn uses JSON. It fetches like the next node. When you click and turn like a choice, it parses whatever comes after that. So, where am I? It's like, okay. Here, for example, write text. This is where it actually writes the text on the screen. So, first it checks, okay, is there an at sign anywhere here? Or like, is what I'm reading an at sign? Like, okay, it is. Then is it followed by 2 9s, or is it followed by 2 8s or something? Then different stuff happens. So it kind of like tries to interpret this like tag. If whatever it's reading is not an at, maybe it's this weird character that I don't know the name of, then okay, this is a tag. This is one of those like character and music tags. Then it takes all of this and it sends it to another part of the script. So it takes all of these 12, or in total 13 characters, and sends it to handle input, and then it goes on. And if it's just a regular letter, it writes it out one at a time on the screen, or all at the same time if you click it. So yeah, and this is the handle input part where it like sends, it breaks apart the tag that you saw and it sends it on to other scripts, such as, what do I have, like the portrait handler. And none of this is like pretty, because I'm primarily a writer, not a coder. Don't judge me. But for example, here I have the portrait handler. So the portrait handler gets, well, it's actually a string, even though it's, numbers, integers. They get it as strings because that's how, the way it's interpreted, from, like, it's sent from this inc file through the text handler into portrait handler. So it's still a string because it doesn't, like, it interprets it as a string. At one point I'm parsing it to an int just to see if something is bigger than this, but it actually doesn't matter, because what I'm doing is basically, okay, what is this string? And it picks out the protagonist part and like, okay, which body should I use and which head should I use? And it goes directly to resources, which is a specific folder in Unity. And it goes into a specific folder within the resources folder. So if it's Shantee should be updated, then it goes into the Shantee folder and it finds the right body, and then it finds the right head, and so on. These are, it's not going to look like this in the end because she's going to be cut up differently. It's kind of macabre, but anyway, so then it's actually good that it's a string, because I'm finding the right head and so on, based on the name of the actual file in the resources folder. And I've been told that you shouldn't actually use resources. And yeah, there are benefits and there are setbacks to using the resource folder in Unity. But I'm choosing to do it for now, and we'll see. It works at the moment. Um, yeah, but if you have any suggestions on how to do this another way, please let me know. I would be happy to hear it. Uh, I don't think I should go into any more details, actually. Um, what should I do next? I was thinking that maybe I should write a little bit to just show you, like, kind of how I work. Um, that's gonna, however, be very put a lot of pressure on me to write good text with an audience. Is there anything else that I have missed that I should talk about? Oh, oops. I'm gonna fix that. The main menu has to be um, enabled in the inspector, or like in the scene when you start the game right now. But I'm gonna fix that. Yeah, I talked about the codex briefly. This, of course, is gonna be a lot prettier in the end. So like. Of course, the maps, I'm gonna have more maps and they're gonna be prettier, or probably more maps, we'll see if there is a reason for it. You're gonna be able to collect more items. They're also gonna be, thinking like phrases and people and like everything. Like it should be an actual codex, so you can like, who was that guy? Right, I'm gonna go to the codex and like, oh yeah, that's like, and you can like read some more. Um, because like this is potato fantasy, so I'm it's kind of historical, but I'm also making stuff up. So if you like halfway through a storyline, or like you do something else for 2 months and then you come back to the story like, shit, like was that the name of the, like, is that a god or what, like who is this thing that they're referencing? And then you should be able to go to the codex and like, oh yeah, okay, Baria is one of the main deities. Okay, that's her relation to the other deities. Um, yeah, you can load games, load stories. So as it is right now, you can. There is only one save file. In this debug version, it never saves. You have to save manually. I'm thinking that it should save automatically all the time. My, I think that I will solve like. It's hard. Like I want it to be kind of I don't know, roguelike, in the sense that like like you shouldn't be able to just reload if you're not happy with the result that you got, because like this is life, you can't just go back. And my like, I don't know, way of making it a little bit easier for you is to add the undo button. So if you on a, yeah, that's a Unity bug. That's so beautiful. Uh, but just to like, if you misclicked or you're like, oh, she didn't actually say what I thought she would say when I clicked that, then you should be able to undo one time if it's not a key choice, which is something that really, really affects the outcome of the story. So my thought has been so far that it should, as I said, save automatically. But I'm actually thinking that maybe you will have 3 save slots. So if you like if you want to see what happens from this point, you can just switch slots to um, like yeah, you can like, it's okay, from this point I'm gonna branch this way, but I'm still gonna have a save here. But like you, since you only have 3 slots, you have to like use them wisely. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, we'll see how I do it in the end. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So this is General Dunhendel. He is. I shouldn't. we shouldn't spoil it. Yeah, and this is Shantee when she tries to join the army. So she has put on some men's clothes and yeah, she tries to look like a young man. Since, as I said, women aren't actually allowed to join the army. All right. Okay, so just for a few minutes, I'm going to show you how I write this a little bit more seriously. So what happens in this scene that I'm working on right now is you are a rebel. You have joined the rebel army, or the Droidston Revolutionary Front, as they call themselves, and you have been accepted. It's always going to be a little bit of a challenge to actually start one of the storylines. Like, you can't just waltz into the army like, yeah, hi guys, I'm going to join now. Especially when because you're a woman, so you're not allowed. So you have to kind of like solve the puzzle together. So even though it's just text-based, is really a lot about solving problems anyway. So even if it's not traditional, game puzzles, they might be used to, you'll still have to really use your brain. Like, it's puzzles, but they are conveyed with text. I don't know if that makes sense, but so you have to do the right things in the right order to, in this case, get accepted into the rebel, the gang of rebels. Otherwise, they won't trust you, and they're just not gonna let you in. So, for example, if you give the wrong passphrase to the doorman, to the guard at the door, at their hiding place, then, well, he's not gonna let you in. You're not getting any second chances. Sorry, my throat is acting up. So yes, you have joined the rebels. You have already fought with them, so to speak, or like you have been part of what you call a rally, what the army calls a riot. Actually, it's going to take too long to show it, but you can experience the same scene from two angles already. So you can join the army, and after a while, like after a month, which I call a moon, you like someone barges in like, oh, there's gonna be a riot on the square. We need to get there, and so you and your fellow soldiers go there, and you try and like. Disperse the people, like try and keep everyone safe, but like, okay, you can't do this, like you can't, like you're a threat to the country, basically, like stop it, or we will have to arrest you, and of course the army want this to go down peacefully, but it doesn't really, because the rebels are really like aggravated, or a lot of civilians as well that aren't technically rebels, but like they sympathize with the rebels, with the rebel cause. Then, you can also be part of the same rally or riot as a rebel. So if you join the rebel storyline instead, you will see it from that perspective. So you will be part of the meetings leading up to it when you kind of plan it. So you can be one of the people actually, oh, maybe we should do it on that square, and stuff like that. And you can see some of the exact same, events, but from the other side. So one of the things that I want to do with this story is really show that there are always two sides to every coin. So like there is no right or no wrong, like there are only different views, and the rebels and the military really have different views and stuff, of course. So this is not going to be the case all the time, of course, but that specific moment, like these two storylines follow each other pretty closely, but they're also vastly different. For example, in the military storyline, there are other like focuses Um, there it focuses more on, for example, gender and I don't know, mental health maybe. Uh, well, there are some themes um, like connected to that specific storyline, because since you have basically you're pretending to be a man, um, and so that storyline kind of revolves a lot around that. So either you are still adamant that you are a woman, but like you just pretend to be a man, or you can actually uh, along the way realize that you're comfortable with this new role that you have, and like, okay, yeah, maybe I don't view myself as a woman anymore, stuff like that. So it's kind of like I want to comment on some issues that women have and could have had in history and so on, and also comment on like, well, the role of different genders and stuff like that. And well, so that's kind of the premise of that storyline. Whereas this Rebel storyline revolves around, a lot more around like um, civil rights, I guess. It's a lot more. There are a lot more feelings, like interpersonal feelings in this one, because like when you're in the army, uh, not at least not in my story, not a lot of people will like hit on you daily, but there are not one but two romance options in the Rebel storyline. So if you are a person who enjoys romancing NPCs, then you should go with the Rebel storyline. Um, there is a guy, a soldier that you can flirt a lot with, but for reasons I will not enclose, you cannot romance him all the way. So yeah, so I'm digressing, but so this is a after this is the Rebel storyline after that riot that I mentioned, or the rally, depending on how you look at it. And the scene here actually can also be seen from the other side, so to speak, too. Because when you're a soldier, then you're called to the harbor, and like, okay, there's a break-in, we have to stop these rebels, and you can also be part of the break-in of the heist. Actually, I don't think I'm gonna actually write anything live, not today. I might do another dev stream of that. Because I've been going on for almost an hour now, and I think that's pretty much enough. So maybe another dev stream in the future where I actually show you a little bit more of the work process, in progress. But all right, there weren't really a lot of questions in the chat that I could see. But I think I'm gonna wrap this up, and I hope that you enjoyed what you have seen today. And yeah, I don't know if you are watching this, then you probably already follow on either Twitter or Facebook. But I don't know, go into the forum on tailcore.com/forum, for example. That would be great, because yeah, I want to hear your thoughts and I want to see your discussions. So like, if you have any thoughts or ideas or anything, put them there. There is also an alpha build available for testing, so if you want to try the game, let me know. So like, for example, post on the forum, like, yeah, I want to check out this game. That would be great. And I'll get a build out to you. You can also email beta@tailcore.com. And I'll make sure to get a build out to you. Alright, I think that it's time to conclude this dev stream. Hope you enjoyed it. And happy holidays. Have a good evening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.